As the water heats up, the structure is where you're gonna wanna fish. Jetties for reds, bridge pylons for crappie, or deep water for bass. In either case, our captains are standing by with the game plan for the weekend. This is the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Hey guys, welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. I'm Sarah Malia, filling in for Brie, alongside Captain Rick Murphy, and we're rowing our boats across the beautiful state of Texas, checking out the hottest spots to paddle. Whether you're canoeing, kayaking, or paddleboarding, we've got you covered. Right, Rick?
You're absolutely right, Sarah, and thank you so much for filling in for Brie, and more importantly, you know, paddling has become a very popular sport.
Very popular.
Throughout Texas, throughout the Gulf Coast, and you know, I'm very excited about talking about paddling tonight in Texas.
So before we start, we have to say hi to Dave over at the CCA workbench. What's going on, Dave?
Oh, I'm just thinking about how old I am and how long ago I was one of the first fellows to ever fish in one of those roto-molded kayaks.
To be paddling around.
Lost all my stuff, you know, every time I flip it over.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
Starting us off this week is Captain Chad Kinney in the Lower Coast region. Do you think we can paddle our way to some trout, or what, Chad?
I think it's definitely there, especially we got a little bit of weather coming, which everybody will see, but it's just going to bring some rain. It looks like it's just going to help offshore fishing, inshore fishing, and the paddling. So starting out the trout fishing here, you know, it's been good in the North Land Cut, while offshore state and federal water snapper fishing, of course, have been excellent, and there's been some Dorado showing up out deep, which I expect a lot more of that to show up after we get this little wave pushing through here. But the kayaking, you know, it's been taking off here. We don't have a store here to get them out your baits, and I got guys that come in here quite a bit and get different tackle and different things, and that's the best places to go here. So it's been taking off here when the weather's good out of Port Mansfield here. There's a south boat ramp and a north boat ramp, but a lot of people don't know we actually have a designated little area in Port South you can go down to, and it's an airboat launch and for kayaks. And when you get there, it's a real easy paddle or kayak. You go straight across to the long bar, and you get some good trout action and some redfish action. You can pin it down there, and you can fish off there. You get out and wade fish and eat and get your fishing done early. Keep an eye on the weather. And when you come back in, you'll have an easy paddle back and get to the shore, and you'll be in good shape. And then out of South Padre Island, do the same thing, but head towards Holly Beach. That's a good fishing area right through there, and protected also. And then out of Corpus Christi, you can go to Wilson's Cut and go to Shamrock Cove. That's a good spot in that area also like that. So when you head out there, what I recommend, you know, guys here, they'll take some soft plastic, some sand deals, paddle tails, top waters, etc. And then some of the guys are actually getting these smaller live wells and stuff like that. If you're a live bait guy and stuff like that, I want to take that with you. And they'll put a little mini bubbler in there, and they'll keep the little shrimp or croaker or piggies and stuff alive like that. But, of course, check the weather down here in South Texas. We got a lot of high winds, but some days this time of year we get some really good light calm stuff in the forecast, and that's the time to really get out there and enjoy it. So moving over to the trout fishing, like I said, it's been good in the land cut in the North Spoils out of Port Mansfield here in the winds, 10 to 15. Try waiting early with some top waters or some soft plastics, chartreuse paddle tails, and an 8-ounce jig head. Live bait's been working really good off this stuff too, guys. If you're out there wade fishing or power pulling down off your boat on the drop-offs, just, you know, 5-7-knot gill hooks. They're getting a little bit bigger now, the baits. So you can definitely use a 5 or 7 real good, and a 25, 40-pound leader works great. And just work those drop-offs really good. And then some lures. I got a buddy of mine down here. He's working up in that area. Captain Ruben Cars. He got a picture of a trout here, and got some really nice trout. This guy's been on some good fish here. Oof. And they released that one.
That's a nice fish, Chad. All right, what else you got for us this week, bud?
Yeah, moving to the offshore, like I said, snapper fishing, of course, has been great in state and federal waters here. The thing is, remember, there's 4 per person in state, 2 in federal waters, and out deeper there's been some Dorado showing up. So hitting on the snapper part, like I said, it's in full swing. The crab patch is reaching its end, and people always look at me kind of silly, but the crab patch, what it is, guys, it'll start real small and bloom, and you'll go up there to your favorite snapper hole, and they're not going to be biting as hard, they're not as big, or not as many, and all the above. Just wait for those crabs to get about 2 or 3 inches, which sometimes takes several weeks, and then once they start getting too big, they'll start going back to their squid and cigar minnows and everything else, and then the jigging becomes better, and the water clarity gets better, so everything gets a lot better on that. One question I get quite a bit this time of year, because people do get confused easily. So you'll have 4 fish in state. So if you're going to state waters, catch your 4 fish, go back in. Don't take your 4 fish out to federal waters and stay, and you caught 2 and 2. So catch either 4 in state, or you can catch 2 in state and move out deeper, fish for Dorado and catch 2 more and come in, you'll be good to go. We got a picture of a good red snapper here that we caught saw a 16-pound red snapper there. That's actually my brother in the picture, and I.
Man, that's a nice fish. Go ahead, bud.
Yeah, solid. Yeah, so moving on like out deeper, Dorado, they haven't been on fire, but they've been good. I've been sending some picks in, some pretty picks. They've been scattered out here in the lower coast 4 days. I've talked to some of the guys up there, South Padre Island, of course myself here in the middle, but we're all fishing pretty much the same stuff. We look for any debris or any rips or weed lines. With the calmer weather after this little, current and the weather change, I think there'll be a lot of rifts forming up. Some smaller stuff, I think you'll start really turning on fire. I'll let you know next week on that. But pull some small soft plastics. Rick Ballyhoo, of course, works great. Troll at 7.5 to 8 knots. And if you get a big Dorado there, up next to the boat, I've said this before, but definitely do it. Go for a headshot. Get an afro gap. Don't get the real big gap one. Get a 2 to 3 inch one. And I've got a Yeti 350 tundra cooler on my Bertram, so my guys are trained, and myself, we open that cooler up before we even gap. Just make one big swinging motion. Stick them as best you can. Throw them into the cooler. Close the lid. He can go nuts. Crazy, whether it's a Dorado or a Ling or anything like that, go nuts. You ain't gonna hurt that cooler. Let them settle down. Then take it out. It's a lot safer for all your buddies or yourself. I got a cool picture of a Dorado there, underwater picture there.
That's some good advice, Chad. Thank you for starting us off this week. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the lower coast region hotspots. Our Captain Chad says trout fishing has been good in the North Land Cut, and then offshore state and federal snapper fishing is excellent with some Dorados out deep.
Let's check in with Johnny Geis in the Upper Fresh region. What do you have for us this week, Johnny?
Hello, Rick and Sarah. How are y'all today?
We're doing great, thank you.
Great. Well, on this week's report, I'm going to cover 2 lakes which will be hosting an upcoming kayak tournament sponsored by the North Texas Kayak Championship. Being from Louisiana, the first boat that I owned was a P-row. I carried that little boat everywhere, caught fish in all kind of water, farm ponds, rivers, creeks, and lakes. It was easy to get out there and catch fish with my small P-row. Well, many fishermen over here in Texas now are taking advantage of a similar craft, call them kayaks. Most are small one-man boats powered by paddle. Don't cost a lot of money, easy to get into. These lightweight, sturdy boats, they allow anglers to be real mobile, and you can launch them from anywhere. The benefits of the kayaking include that low-cost entry and cost of operation. You don't need to pull a boat and trailer, don't need to plan too far ahead. Just pick it up, put it in the truck, and go fishing. It's a fun way to get on the water and catch a lot of fish. Well, Texas, the kayakers, they've got a large growing group up in North Texas. They have several tournament organizations that are sponsoring competitive events. Tournament kayakers, man, they've got a very nice decked out boat, almost like a bass boat. They got rod holders, they got electronic, shallow water anchors, all kind of systems, mini storage, and a comfortable seat and leg supports. So you don't have to be uncomfortable if you want to kayak. If you want to get in fishing for a fraction of the cost of owning and operating a boat, you need to get that kayak and go fishing and go catching. You can check out some local clubs and tournament organizations, and you'll find a wealth of knowledge and support to get you on the right track with that. So the first species I want to cover tonight is a largemouth bass, spotted bass on Possum Kingdom. The next North Texas Kayak Tournament will be held this Saturday on PK. Kayakers, they'll be competing in a 5-fish paper tournament. Anglers measure and photograph their best 5 to determine the winner. You can launch from any publicly accessible ranch or access area. The topwater popping lures like the Yellow Magic and walking baits like the Czar Spook, they'll be good for about the first 30 minutes or longer if it's cloudy. Then the bass go there, they're going to drop down. They can be caught from shady docks, brush piles, and drop shots, shaky heads, or Texas rig worms. PK has an abundance of spotted bass, but they're usually a little smaller than the blacks, but they can help fill out your limit, and definitely you'll catch some of those on PK. The spotted bass, they love the crawfish, so small jigs, crawfish patterns will work good, and put some of those in the boat. Look for the windy, rocky banks, and usually those are good areas. They'll also include some type of rock transition zones, places where you'll see pea gravel turns into chunk rock. When you see that on the bank, it extends out in the lake. It's a real good area to fish. A Ned rig and a green pumpkin be my go-to bait on PK. PK is a beautiful lake. I love fishing that clear water, but you got to use light line, so don't forget to spool up a 6-pound line. You'll definitely get a lot more bites. The next tournament will be the following month. It's going to be held out of a lake called Lake Bridgeport north of Dallas. We're going to talk about the crappie, though. Man, they're on fire there. The big crappie, they're abundant all over Bridgeport. One thing that kayakers kayakers really do well, and that's fish skinny water, and they do it real quietly, and that's important for these crappie. Bridgeport was extremely low for several years, and then heavy rains filled the lake back up almost overnight. Several years of drought provides that so much of that good growth of willows and all kinds of weeds and grasses, and that's what's made the population boom with crappie. Newly flooded grass makes excellent fish habitat, and that's where you're going to find the spotted crappie. Also provides for a boost in all kinds of fish production, and this crappie is hanging that cover pretty much year-round now. Time of year, small spinners like a beetle spin, it's an excellent crappie locator. Use light line again, spin and tackle, cover a lot of water till you find a school of crappie, and you can load the boat there. Got many docks on Lake Bridgeport, a lot of man-made brush piles, and these are crappie magnets as well. So plan your launch access close to a dock area, and you don't have to paddle too far, and you'll be on a good school of crappie pretty quick. One thing you got to do is always wear that PFD, personal flotation device, when you kayak fishing. You can fall out of it.
That's some good advice, Johnny. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Fresh region. Our guide, Johnny, says Possum Kingdom Lake. The black bass are fair to good on topwaters early and late, switching to the sea rig or a Carolina rig drop shots and shaky heads, and then Lake Bridgeport. Bass fare on white buzz baits and topwaters and Texas rig creature baits, or maybe even a worm, Sarah.
If you're in the Middle Coast region, stay hooked because we're coming to you next. But first, we're going to check in with Dave at the CCA workbench for some rigs and techniques.
Yeah.
You ready for us, Dave?
No, but Gene, the paddling machine, is going to show us how to do it. Because I don't know how to paddle.
Oh,
I have no
come
upper
on.
body strength, man.
You've never paddled before?
I'm weak. That's all I got to say.
We'll be right back here on the Texas Insider Fishing
The
Report.
Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. The American Fishing Tackle Company. Any fish, any water. Since 1958. Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist. And CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 Offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Outside is a bully. There are bears, screaming fleet-footed waters, arrogant mountains, Goliaths, 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 and 100 other excuses to stay inside. But there are ways to deal with bullies.
CCA is the largest marine conservation group of its kind. With 70,000 members in Texas, CCA's mission is dedicated to conserve, promote, and enhance the present and future availability of our coastal resources for the benefit and enjoyment of the general public. So if you care about the health of our Texas coastal resources, join CCA today by going to their website, ccatexas.org, and help them make a difference. Use the promo code REDFISH to receive your free hat with your membership. CCA, the leader in marine conservation.
Well, CCA is the leader in conservation, and they're the leader of the workbench here at
Yes,
the
they
CCA
are.
workbench, but we
They
kind
own
of
it.
moved a little off because this is pretty big.
Yeah, this won't fit on the bench.
Dave, we are lucky enough to have Gene Hammond from Reeling Freedom. And Gene, you know what? When we talked about paddle boards and how they're being used for fishing, let's just get right into it. Tell me how this paddle board is set up and why.
Well, these paddle boards are from Kaku Kayaks, and this is a perfect platform to get in skinny water on the grass flats, and to do it with a little bit of stealth. Right? You paddle right along, and because paddleboard sports is gaining in popularity because you can stand up on these things, and oftentimes I'll put my feet on the seat here and sit on the back of this kayak.
To be a little elevated.
When you get that elevation, you can see inside the water and sight cast those inshore fish.
Now, Gene,
yeah.
Dave and I were talking, typically paddle boards don't have dual paddles.
That's
but
correct.
You have a dual paddle in this. Tell me why.
Traditionally, you have one blade. But when you want to cover long distances, you want to get down on that seat, get low, and use that dual paddle to propel you forward.
Yeah, see, that's always scared me about these things because, like I was saying before, I'm not a big, I don't do anything. Yeah. So I've always been afraid of getting up on that thing and paddling. I thought I would get out there, be in trouble. But so, I like the idea I can sit down with a dual blade one and move.
That's right. On a paddle board, you want a paddle that's at least 250 centimeters. It gives you a little more length to reach forward and push that water backwards.
Now, it seems to be, a kayak is more pointy and narrow and tippy. Paddle boards are not?
No, this one's 35 inches wide, and I can stand up and walk around on this thing like I'm standing on dry land.
All right, so let's talk about how you have the board rigged. All right, Gene, so we've got a micro power pole. Right. Certainly, what size spike do you prefer?
Well, I think that's an 8-footer. We typically stay shallow. If you're in a little bit deeper water, I recommend a grapple anchor.
Okay.
So you can get down there a little bit, but we can sneak right up on the beach, drop this power pole down, and stay in place to sight fish those.
Do you guys
fish.
ever put any electronics on them?
Absolutely, yeah. Kayak. You can buy a mount that goes right into the gear track with a transducer that goes through the through hole. With a little 12-volt battery, you can.
So you can just take it off and take it with you.
So we've got rod holders. You typically carry, let's see, 1 and maybe 3 additional rods back there.
Yeah, I usually take 3 with me. 1 for artificial, 1 for live, and I usually have 1 for a sabiki rig for bait.
And the milk crate? What's that do?
Well, that just holds all my gear.
Okay.
So I put my tackle hooks, the landing net.
And live bait well, does that go in there too? Or you got a bucket?
What I do with a live bait, I don't have it out here, but it's basically a torpedo trolling bucket.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
So when I sabiki them up, I put them in that little torpedo, and it doesn't create much drag when you're paddling around.
So Gene, I see that we have a safety flag. What is the purpose? Is that
I tell you what,
Coast Guard rule, or is that your personal?
That is personal, right? Because safety is paramount. What you want to do, you're next to the water, so you want to try to increase your visibility as much as possible.
Right.
Let people know you're there. Orange flags, and even at night, when you're fishing at night, you get a little all-around white light. So
bass fishing this time of year, because it's so hot in Texas, is very popular, and I think this would really be a cool way. Not your stealth, as well as, I guess the only thing you might have to worry about is Wally the alligator. You might want to get up on here with you. So Gene,
we've landed sharks on these boards.
Yeah, so when you hook a big fish, tows you around?
Oh yeah, I call that a South Florida sled ride, or a Texas sled ride.
Texas sled ride, I like it.
Yeah.
I noticed some of these boards have compartments up in the front. What is that all about?
Dry storage. There's a trolling bucket right there, but you can keep a waterproof bag with anything that you may want in there. So.
Well,
the ones I got fished on first, they didn't have those beautiful things like that. We would just roll over and all our stuff would go to the bottom.
Yeah, you want to try to keep things tied down. I usually have a strap around the crate.
Right. It'd be kind of hard to flip one of these things over, wouldn't it, though? I mean, if you go in the water, is it pretty easy to get back on them?
Yeah, you just kind of belly flop up there.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So tell me about the foundation.
Well, Reeling Freedom was started by a very good friend of mine by the name of Paul Gage. And Paul Gage donated 22 years of active duty service
Nice.
to your United States Marine Corps. When he retired, he got a boat, started fishing, And he noticed all these people standing on the sandbars and jetties. They were veterans. So one day he parked the boat, said, "Who wants to go fishing?"
I love it.
Yep. And then after a few trips of that, his wife was, Danelle, was like, "Why don't we just turn this into a foundation?"
So if guys want to know more about the foundation, you guys have a great library of photos as well as some videos there. Where do they go?
You go to reelingfreedom.com, and you can look us up on Facebook. And
you did a great job. Thank you so much. I'm
No
so
problem.
much more enlightened about how we can use a paddleboard, Dave. We've had kayaks in the past, but the board seems to be a really cool way to go.
I'd like to give it a shot. Yeah.
Very portable. All right, speaking of portable, we've got to go to another region, Sarah, so where are we headed?
Yep, we're checking in with Captain Bink Grimes in the Middle Coast region. Heard the red snapper bite has been red hot. What can you tell us about that, Bink?
It has, but our paddle sports have been, just as good too. Not everybody's got a boat or has the time for a boat, And good thing about Texas and the Middle Coast, there's plenty of prime spots for kayaks. Those kayakers are stealthy, and they literally sneak up on fish while paddling. And in Matagorda around here, St. Mary's Bow, it's just a few steps from my lodge here, and you can catch redfish and flounder on gulps and soft plastics, and even paddle out to the west shoreline of East Matagorda Bay. Some of the best kayaking along the Middle Coast happens in Rockport, Port Aransas. There's miles and miles of water to navigate, and the lighthouse trails around Redfish Bay hold some of the most pristine waters you'll ever find. And it's not uncommon to sneak up on arms length trout in these areas. Never discount the surf this time of year. You can cover a lot of ground in a kayak and bounce from gut to gut to the second sandbar and really stay on the fish and stay away from the sharks. So, we got a lot of kayakers in Texas and a lot of area to fish. We're going to start out with trout, and it felt like a breath of fresh air this week. We had a little change to southeast winds, and we've been having sun headaches, people trying to drift in the southwest wind, but the barometer's falling, the tides have risen a little bit, and they're ready to eat. The fish are. Port O'Connor, man, live bait like croakers and shrimp have been the go-to for boaters. Tides have been running almost 2 foot below normal. We got a weather system in the Gulf right now that we're hoping is going to pump up the tides and push more fish in the bay. Spots like Siluria, Bio, City Slickers, and the Cedars have produced. And we've worked the hump with Bass Assassins and Sea Shad, down south lures on incoming tide. Those trout are slicking out there in about 6 foot of water, and they're riding that tide from Pascavao, and we're kind of intercepting them with top waters, little super spooks and skitter walks in 3 to 4 foot of water. Guy Lynn Smith says he's enjoyed a steady bite of trout to 24 inches on top waters and plastics in Port O'Connor this week. He's been working. He's like working the back legs, but the water's been pouring out of it, and he's been kind of working the mouths of them on the outgoing tide. But most of all, he's hanging close to around the pass there at the Port O'Connor Jetty and Pascavao. Then Michael Quebec has been working West Matagorda Bay with croakers out of the boat. Those lighter winds. We've been able to get on Half Moon Reef a little bit this week and fish those underwater rocks, but it's just kind of limited the wind has. But once those winds come back down, I mean, our bays are full of fish. There's a photo there of Reese Cummins. He's the son of Captain Rob Cummins of Matagorda. Reese caught this heavy trout while wading with his dad. He was tossing a Mirror Corky Fat Boy. That's a pretty good little trout for a 10-year-old.
Good trout and a happy kid smiling there, Bink. All right, tell me about the redfish, bub.
Man, as always, there's redfish found at the jetties along the Middle Coast. A lot of those big white shrimp are on the beach, and a lot of those large Gulf shrimp are being gobbled up by those bull reds. The tip of Matagorda jetties holding slot-sized reds. It's been doing that for the past 2 months on Carolina rig shrimp and fresh shad. Then that Port O'Connor jetty hold redfish all the time. Birds are working over pods of minnows, and the redfish are right under the frenzy. If you have trouble getting a bite, soak a shad, mullet, or croaker in 27 to 35 foot of water, and you're probably going to get bit. And our low tides have kind of made it tough to pattern those redfish in the bays. The redfish lately we've been catching them while we're targeting trout because that tide's got them out in the middle of the bay, and we've just kind of been running into to schools of them in the middle of the bay. So that's kind of been a pattern. Rockport Reds are in the back lake, but they're pouring out with that outgoing tide. So people are just kind of sitting there at the mouth of the back lake. We'll go offshore. Red snapper and kingfish. And Mike Siegel in Freeport. Those red snapper are excellent. Man, he's catching fish 22 to 40 miles out, and they're 10 to 20 pound snapper on jigs, and then jigs tipped with shrimp. He's made some afternoon runs. And then Michael Quebec out of Matagorda, they're busting their snapper limit. And, to 20 pounds and 60 to 80 foot of water on squid and sardines. Same's happening in Port Aransas, party boats. Just about anybody's going out there and getting their snapper, and they're beautiful, beautiful snapper. Kingfish bite's still crazy on Russell lures. Same holds true in Freeport. Water temperature's about 86, 87 degrees. That's kind of frightening this time of year because you got a storm out in the Gulf. That gives that storm a lot of energy. We're hoping it's just a rainmaker this weekend, so we're kind of praying for that. And then there's a photo of Mike Siegel's boat, a lot of bent rods out of Freeport with red snapper in the 10 to 20 pound range.
And those are some great fish. Thank you so much, Bink. You really thoroughly covered the Middle Coast region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Bink says the reefs in San Antonio Bay are holding good numbers of trout on live croakers and bass assassins. The flats close to Pass Cavallo in Port O'Connor, did I say that right, Sarah? Cavallo have been steady on incoming tide on Super Spook Juniors, bass assassins, and down south lures. And then offshore, great for red snappers and kingfish on just about any piece of structure, Sarah.
That red snapper bite was on fire over there.
Yeah, man, some big ones.
The CCA Texas and CCA's National Habitat Program have provided the Sabines Pass High 20 Nearshore Reefing Project. With funds of $200,000, they will work with Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, Sabine Passport Authority, Greater Port Arthur Chamber of Commerce, and local volunteer groups to reef the newly permitted site. The barge will be deployed in the center of the 160-acre site. This project will create new marine habitat, provide greater opportunities for outdoor recreation, and enhance the local economies. CCA is the leader in marine conservation and habitat restoration.
Well, that's a lot to read.
Yeah,
wow.
A lot of information.
Yeah, it is. Good job.
Cool project, though.
Yeah.
The lower middle fresh regions are up next on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, so stay tuned, and remember, for all things fishing, visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and view and tag us on Instagram, and we'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. And Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there.
Master your most challenging offshore experience with confidence and ease with Yamaha Helmmaster. Precise, intuitive control on the open seas. Unrivaled ease for maneuvering and docking in port. And now SetPoint adds 3 new dimensions to boat control. Maintain boat position with fish point, or a position and heading with stay point, or a heading while you drift with drift point. Yamaha Helmmaster, now with SetPoint. Complete digital control for today's larger offshore boats.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Welcome back, guys, and remember to follow our guides and be up to date on all things fishing in Texas. Make sure to head over to TexasInsiderFishingReport.com. You can catch all of our shows on our YouTube channel. Remember to like us on Facebook at Texas Insider Fishing Report and follow us on Instagram at TifferTV. Now we're heading over to Matt Reed in the Yeti Lower Fresh region. We heard the water is heating up over there, Matt. Has the fishing been hot too?
Fishing's been really good. You know, it's been really hot lately. We've been dealing with 105 to 107 degrees, but the fishing's been really good. You know, we just got a lot going on down here in that South Texas region. Going to start this report off this week with Lady Bird Lake in downtown Austin. It's a neat place to break out the kayaks, canoes, or paddle boards. You know, it's a little 468-acre section of the Colorado River. It's about 11 miles long, gin clear, beautiful. The neat thing about it, it has 8 access points for you to get in with those, and use your paddle-operated stuff. Bass fishing's really good there along the shores. You got cypress trees and other types of shallow cover. You can fish plastic worms over, around that type of cover and catch a lot of bass. If you just want to catch some fish, the red ear and bluegill, get you some worms or some crickets and just have a good time catching fish. One of the neatest things about that little lake to have fun with your paddle boats, there are no gas-powered motors are allowed. So it's really, that's what it's for. It's a great place in the middle of Austin, lots of people, but a fun way to have entertainment with your canoes and kayaks and not worry about getting run over by a boat. If you don't have one, there's several places there that you can rent that type of equipment. So check it out and go have a good time.
Good job. Let's go ahead and talk about some bass there, Matt.
All right, we're getting in my wheelhouse now. Falcon Lake is just really rocking, and use that word rocking is with emphasis. Fish are, they're congregated on the rocks on the main lake right now. Our water's been falling extremely fast. Hopefully we'll stop losing water soon, but that congregates the fish on the rock. Big crankbaits and football jigs. It's been really good, and it's getting you a lot of big bites. So get out there and get you some. The heat's been hot, but the wind's blowing, so it doesn't seem that hot with a low humidity. Moving on over to Somerville, it's been a little bit slow this week. The heat's kind of slowed those fish down. Most of your better fish are coming on the deep ledges and drop-offs on deep running crankbaits and Carolina rig soft plastics around the isolated brush piles. Fayette County Lake is doing what it does most summers, fishing really good. Hot water lake, so those fish don't seem to mind the summer. It's always, it's got a power plant on it, so the water's always hot. Fish are showing up in large numbers in the discharge right now. And believe it or not, the surface temperature is 109 degrees there right now. With those fish can move into that discharge and feed. They don't stay there that long. They have to get back out where there's a little better oxygen content. A lot of fish in there right now. Out on the main lakes and on the drop-offs at 17 to 20 foot, you can also catch fish there on a Carolina rig, red bug or green pumpkin plastic. Neat place, Fayette County. We've hit a couple of lakes in the Austin area. Lake Travis is still fishing really well for numbers. You can get your top water out early in the morning, either a popper or a spook. You catch a lot of fish doing that. A lot of those fish aren't real big, but you can get a big bite every now and then. When the sun gets up, get you a small creature bait like a baby brush hog. Flip it around the trees, any type of cover you can find. Watermelon red's probably the best color. It's something for that clear water. Another way you can catch some big ones still right now is a big 5 or 6 inch flutter spoon. Pictured around the marinas, those fish are suspended under those stalls in that shade. There's all kinds of everything they need there: food, cover, shade. That flutter spoon falling down in front of them will get you some big bites. One more lake there in the Austin area, Lake Decker, another hot water lake. Fish are schooling in the hot water discharge early in the mornings. You can catch them on small swim baits, tiny flukes, or anything, shad shaped in the crankbait. But they want something small because they're schooling on the little bait. And that's pretty much what I got going on in my region.
Well, tell me about this photo.
That photo, customer of mine, Cash Callahan, caught his personal best at Falcon a couple of days ago, that fish weighed just a shade under 9 pounds. It's always fun to catch those big ones.
So, Matt, I got a question for you. You know, guys are really, you know, the hot water, it always turns a lot of guys, fishermen off. But you're 109 degrees in the one lake by the discharge. Why do you think that's still so successful?
You know, you have moving water, Rick. You know, those discharge, you have flowing water, and it'll carry bait to those fish. And like I said, they can't stay in that water temperature all the time, but they will move into it and feed. We got a lot of power plant lakes here in Texas that's just a common pattern.
All right, well, thanks for clearing that up. It's kind of like eating in the sauna. But you know what? I get it. All right, man, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the lower fresh region. Our guide, Matt Reed, says Lady Bird Lake in Austin is a great place to enjoy paddling and fishing and get out and enjoy the outdoors. No big boats required. How about that? A designated paddling lake. Yep. I love it, Sarah.
Next up, we have Matt Loescher covering the Startron Middle Fresh region. Hey, Matt, do you think we can get our kayaks out there and catch some bass or what?
Absolutely, Sarah. You can kayak all over the Middle Fresh region. I'm going to highlight a few places that I think are best for it. I'm going to start off with Lake Livingston. For the folks coming out of Houston, you know, it's not too far away. And the great thing about Lake Livingston is it's a shallow water fishery. So you don't have to have a kayak rigged out with fancy electronics and all this and that for fishing offshore. You can just beat the bank all day long on that lake and do very well. You know, just your typical shoreline cover fishing, docks, laydowns, things like that. And then up a little further north and a little bit further east on Toledo Bend, there's a ton of kayaking opportunities, or rather not just kayaking, but canoeing, paddleboarding, whatever you like on Toledo Bend, because there's so many access points there to great fishing. You know, Toledo Bend is full of boat ramps. You know, every major creek pretty much has a good boat ramp, maybe even more than one. And there's some on the main lake as well. And there's tons of bridges that you can use for access points. You know, there's lots of good ways to get in on Toledo Bend and, you know, have a chance at catching the fish of a lifetime on that lake anytime you go. And you've got shallow water, deep water, whatever you like. Always got a creek out of the wind. Just works out real well. And if you don't have a kayak, we at Living the Dream Guide Service have some kayaks that we rent out. So if you're just looking for a rental for the day, look us up at ltdguideservice.com. We can help you out with that. And if you're new to kayak bass fishing and you'd like to learn a little bit more about it, my buddy Chad Hoover has a great show called Kayak Bassing. We've actually filmed some shows on Toledo Bend with the show, and it's a great resource to learn about it. And they do some tournaments as well, so a lot of good info there for you.
All right, well, give me your first species there, Matt.
Yeah, we're going to jump over to crappie now. Specifically crappie on Toledo Bend. They're really hot right now. You can catch them in the daytime or at night. And, you know, a lot of people like to night fish this time of year because of the heat, and the fish bite really well at night. The Pendleton Bridge is a great place to go, especially if you've got a calm night when the wind's not blowing. You know, you get out there. The Louisiana side of the bridge has a lot of lights put out by the Sabine River Authority for you to go out there and fish under. Or if it's crowded or you don't want to fish in that area, you can just set out lights around any pilings and catch fish. Just set those lights out and let the fish come to you. Live minnows are usually best for this deal. Set them at various depths until you figure out how deep they are underneath your light. And just really capitalize on when a school moves through. It's a fun way to catch them, and it's not so hot out there. Just be careful and make sure you watch the weather, because if the wind gets up, it can be really dangerous out there at night on Toledo Bend with that with those rough waves. And I've got a picture there of you guys for you guys to show off a little bit of. Yeah, Toledo Bend's just putting them out right now, man. Yeah, that's a trip my fellow guide Josh McCarty and I took with the Peavy family this week, and as you can see, we just really worked them over and had a great day with those guys.
Matt, I'm coming to do a crappie show for Sportsman's Adventures. I'm going to call you after we get done tonight. We got to get that scheduled, bud. That is so awesome.
We're ready.
All right, let's talk about some bass fishing. Last thing for your region.
All right, so bass, got to talk about Sam Rayburn again. It's just so hot over there. The fishing and the heat is hot, but you can catch them. Same deal, day or night right now. You know, daytime, the grass is the best deal going. About 5 to 10 foot of water, grass along the creek channels and ditches. Throw a big worm, red bug color. Or if you want to go at night, just switch that worm out to a darker colored worm. Black and blue is my favorite. And you can fish those same areas at night and really have a shot at catching a giant bass.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. Let me ask you a question. I have one question. So if I come there to do a crappie show, how are we going to catch them? We're going to do the minnows, or we're going to do some artificial jigging? And what's your favorite lure to use for them if we're lure fishing?
Well, generally, minnows are going to catch your numbers. Jigs are usually going to catch a little bit better size class fish, but they require a little finesse, you know. So it depends on how you want to do that, but we can certainly do a little bit of both. And my favorite one is a Cajun Lures Slim Jimmy. It's just a neat little bait with a lot of natural action. Electric chicken's always a good color, and monkey milk's another great one.
I love the fact that a Texas guy is using something that's got a Cajun name. What do you think about that, Sarah?
I want to come on this crappie adventure.
All right, we'll have to sign her up. All right, Matt, thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Middle Fresh region. Our guide Matt says crappie on Toledo Bend at night around the Pendleton Bridge using lights and live minnows, and then bass on Sam Rayburn are biting big worms in 5 to 15 feet of water around the grass and the ledges, Sarah.
Big worms always work.
Yes, they do.
We've got one more region left, and that's the Upper Coast region. And we've also got our new product segment at the CCA Workbench. What do you got for us, Dave?
Well, I got some stuff here that can make you look like a patriotic cat burglar. Really. Did you guys get that? That was a joke.
Oh, I love
You're supposed
it.
to laugh when I say something funny.
Stay tuned, and we'll
Guess it
be
wasn't
right
that funny.
back here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Blew it. Boom.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. Yeti, built for the wild. Building Conservation Trust, CCA's National Habitat Program. Startron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
When you've got an incredible opportunity in front of you, you want a Yamaha VMAX SHO behind you. Just ask 2017 Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year, Brandon Polinick. He'll tell you, if you're an aspiring angler with big dreams and a VMAX SHO, there's no limit to what you could achieve. Light, fast, fuel-efficient V6 performance and Yamaha reliability that lets you focus on your game. Nothing pushes you like a Yamaha VMAX SHO.
And that's all we need. We need next quarter so we can respond to everything.
Yeah? Stop working right now! Look outside. Is this spreadsheet weather? No, it's not. This is fishing weather. So stop clicking, get out there, and catch a bass. Stop what you're doing and start fishing Rapala Ripstop.
Thanks for tuning in to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes as well as special segments right on our homepage. Just head to TexasInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up.
Hi, I'm Robert Shamlin with JL Marine Systems with your Power Pole Tip of the Day. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Green Marine 100% biodegradable hydraulic fluid. Now, the last thing you want when you're out fishing in your favorite fishing spot is to have a toxic fluid spill, which kills plant life and fish. So Power Pole since 2008 has included Green Marine 100% biodegradable hydraulic fluid in every single hydraulic unit that we sell. It's one of the easiest things that you can do to make a positive impact on our environment by using ISO 32 hydraulic fluid in other systems like trim tabs, jack plates, or hatch lifters. Which leads me into our next tip, which is going to be all about our electric anchor, the Micro. And that's your Power Pole Tip of the Day.
You know, Dave.
Yes, sir.
CCA Workbench, we talk about products here every week too, and
we've got a few.
You know what? We got some
It's a
really
miracle.
good ones.
It's a miracle. All right, first off, we're going to start with the odor eliminator. We tried to get this in last week and kind of messed around and missed it. But this thing's from Starbright. These things are really great, especially if you got a bunch of rain coming your way. This thing can get all that mildew smell out of anything that you have, a car, a boat, an enclosed space. What it does is it uses a really cool chlorine dioxide vapor that penetrates everything in the automobile or the salon of the boat. It's got a little package in there that you open up and put it in the wet sponge, and you close it up in this clamshell, and you let it sit in your car or boat or whatever for 4 to 6 hours. It kills the source of the smell. It's not something that's supposed to, it's not a perfume. This is a deodorizer. It kills what's ever making the odor. And after you let it sit for 4 to 6 hours in your vehicle, you put your head in there and turn the AC on real quick, close the door and let it run for 10 or 15 minutes, and it sterilizes your AC system.
It really does.
Roll your windows down and you're ready to go.
I use this. Ridge's house had a little smell.
Yeah.
So we used this. We went in there and set off about 6 of these bombs.
It kills it.
Other thing is, kids have bad feet.
Exactly.
And when you got a kid that's a senior in high school and he's playing sports, always got sweaty clothes, they never seem to get it into the hamper for be washing. So guess where it ends up?
Yep.
Stinking up.
Well, it's just like my car. I still got little kids, and there's chocolate milk and French fries and everything else that winds up underneath the seat. And now the only person who'll get in my car now is my dog.
Right.
I call it my person. But
all right, so let's go.
All right, that's how lonely I am. Anyway, AFCO, these AFCO WireMax gloves, these are designed with the help of my buddy Peter Wright. He's caught a lot of black marlin in his life, giant ones. And he helped AFCO and the fellas make these gloves for heavy wire. If you're out there catching blue marlins or big giant tunas, you want to have some protection for your hands. And these WireMax gloves are just made for big stuff. They got the closed cell EVA foam across the back of your hand and in your palm, to keep you safe. It's got these nylon mesh that allow you to move and breathe really well. It's got this nice collar on the bottom to keep your sleeves out of the way when you're doing wiring wraps with mono or even cable or steel wire. You don't want your sleeves and stuff getting tangled up in it. You want all that stuff to be tight and closed down. It's got the Velcro straps and the elastic.
You could use
there.
these for ultimate fighting too.
You certainly could. They're
I'm
very
tell
nice.
Somebody want to mess with our co-host?
Yep, they got
the gloves for them.
Yep, they got good dexterity, and they got this nice little grip. They got this little grip on your thumb and a little bit on your fingers and stuff. But they're really made primarily for wiring big fish, and the AFCO WireMax are great. We also got another AFCO sun mask, the little thing I was wearing before. When you're in the sun, summer's coming. You got to cover up. This is an SPF 40, blocks 97% of the UV rays. It's got a 4-way stretch, so it's really comfortable on you. Ultra light fabric. And if you're going to be wearing something on your face in the summer all day, it has to be super, super light. And this is, and it's hard to make something that's super light and will block the sun like this does.
So Dave, let me explain to you how I really like this too.
Mm-hmm.
When you wear a collarless shirt, you see how the taper is on the way this thing's designed.
Right.
I always put the long part on the behind.
Right.
But on days when I wear a collared shirt that buttons up in the front, then I can reverse it. And there's no other sun mask like that. So on the open part where I'm buttoning the shirt up, this goes in the front because I can use the short side, then the collar protects my neck.
There you go.
They're just so well thought out.
Yeah, plus and they got the breathing holes too to keep you from, blowing up and getting all your stuff.
So tell me about the
glasses.
jig.
Well, we got these. This is a silly jig. I was down in Port Charlotte in Florida one time, and I found these at a tackle store that they had, Tease Tackle, and these are great for flounder, for
Pompano.
pompanos in the surf. These are what they're made for. They come with, they got dual hooks and single hooks from 1/4 to 3/4 ounce. It's called the silly jig. They come in chartreuse, pink and white, all the colors that you want to use for even these little tiny ones like this. You can put a shrimp on them or not have a shrimp on them. Cast them out in the surf and just hop them back real slow to you. And pompanos eat these things up.
Yeah.
Tease Tackle.
It's got Pompano.
941-626-0810. He said, give me my cell phone number.
What?
Larry Todd.
That
Call
man
Larry.
has lost his mind.
Call Larry and get you some of those. He's going to be selling a lot of jigs, I hope.
Speaking of losing our mind, we're almost done over here, Sarah, but we got one more region to go. Where are we going?
Yep. Last but certainly not least, we have the Upper Coast region. From trout to Dorado, Captain Caleb Harp is going to keep our rods bent. What's going on, Caleb?
Oh, not much but the wind. But, hey, talking about kayaking, canoeing, and paddleboarding around the upper, coast, there are a lot of areas around here that you can launch and provide great fishing. One of the better areas for this time of year is off the Texas City Dike. And you can launch at the base of the dike and paddle around Mosquito Island and the flats off of Skyline Drive to catch trout during the summer months. Also off of the Galveston Island State Park in West Bay around Dana's Cove and all the new rock groins there will hold trout and reds. Now, closer to the fall, paddling out of Fort Anilac Park can be good around the mouth of the Trinity River for trout, reds, and flounder. And in Sabine, just jump in right at the ramp on the Louisiana side of the causeway and paddle up towards Blue Buck Point. There are normally always a school of reds or two. Whenever kayaking offshore, just drop there at the beach and take off looking for visible bait, bird activity. You can find Spanish mackerel, dack, bull reds, sharks, and occasionally kingfish without having to go too far. And then switching over to the trout, for the guys in boats, the trout are starting to show up pretty good around the schools off the Houston Ship Channel out of Eagle Point and around the Exxon A-Lease gas wells. These schools are covered in oyster shell and hold great habitat for trout in the hot summer months. The gas wells in Exxon A-Lease, which are the wells between Eagle Point and Smith Point, hold trout really good during the summer months because of the deep water and all the current being close to the channel. Each well has its own shell pad, and some wells have different fingers of shell that go way out, where the operators have dumped rock to protect a certain pipeline. Use your sonar and find these shell pads and ridges and set up on them up current. A lot of the guys out there are throwing live croaker, but live shrimp will do the trick too. For us lure guys, using a heavy 3/8 ounce jig head is key to breaking through the current, and it seems like a rat tail soft plastic like a mirror lure provoker works best in solid chartreuse when the water is green. Be careful to use caution when running around these wells. Over the years, they've pulled a bunch of the wells, and there's still some old pipes that linger right underneath the surface. So paddle around until you're familiar with the area. And there's a picture there of a client of mine, Danny, with 2 nice trout he caught off that ship channel with him there.
It doesn't look like it's blowing too bad there, Bubba.
Yeah, well, we've got our days.
All right. All right, tell me what else is happening.
Let's go offshore. But, the weather here, it's been pretty windy and the seas have been rough, but we are getting a couple days here and there of calmer weather, and it should lay down for, good any time now. But whenever it does get good to go, Carl from Salty Dolphin Charters out of Freeport says that there's some good-sized Dorado to catch. And the Dorado they're seeing are in 120 feet and out around current rips, color changes, weed lines, and debris. The bigger Dorado are being caught trolling islanders with rigged ballyhoo or mahi jets. If you're running at least a 4-rod spread, remember to stagger the baits from the boat into long, short, and intermediate distances. And be sure to try various colors until you figure out what the fish are liking, and then stick with that color to improve your success. Try to keep your trolling speed between 6 to 8 knots when trolling for Dorado. And they've been catching them in the 10 to 30 pound range the last few weeks. And then also, Carl said that they're catching some nice wahoo in the same depth range as these Dorado. Your trolling tactics will basically be the same as the Dorado, but you may want to put on a few larger islanders in your spread. And a great color for wahoo is black and purple. You also might want to increase your trolling speed for wahoo up to 7 to 9 knots to give your bait a little more action. And these wahoo have been running up to 60 plus pounds. And also everybody's enjoying this longer red snapper season that we have now. Even though the weather hasn't been ideal, we still have more opportunities to go catch red snapper. So the red snapper bite has virtually been hot all over. And when that weather does calm down, it's going to be right back to the action. And most trips offshore have been producing nice boxes of red snapper up to 20 pounds. And then there's a picture there of a nice wahoo from Salty Dolphin Charters. I think that fish was a little over 70 pounds.
Boy, That's a
Yeah,
nice
that's a good
one.
one there. That's
Yeah.
it. But hey, look them up for your next offshore adventure, and they'll take care of you at SalsaDolphinCharters.com. Some good guys with it.
So, Caleb, I have a question for you. You know what? You guys have obviously have the heat of the summer at the beginning of it now. So what are you doing to adjust your charters? And if somebody wants to go with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, man, just give me a shout right there on my numbers, and or look me up on my website. It's harpskyservice.com. We got some scattered days spread out through the rest of the summer, and I know it's hot out there, but it's still pretty good.
All right, good job, Caleb. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the CCA Upper Coast region. Trout on the Spoil Islands off of the Houston Ship Channel and the Exxon A lease wells out of Eagle Point. Live shrimp under a popping cork work well or soft plastics rigged on a 3/8 jig head. And then offshore, Dorados in 120 and beyond. Trolling Islanders skirted with ballyhoos 6 to 8 knots. Dorados from 10 to 30 pounds have been caught lately, Dave. And you know what, Dave? We did it.
Yes, we did. She got it in.
You did a great job.
First show all on her own.
I mean, you even did better than Dave.
Yeah, I'm the one who messed
Dave
up because I didn't say go to Academy Sports Academy to get this thing.
Very
get your
important.
odor eliminator at Academy, academysports.com.
Yeah, we need one for Rick
Academy.com,
for
Academy
Father's
Sports.
Day.
Yeah.
Great Father's Day.
Yeah, because he
Come
stinks.
on,
No, he's got a brand new truck, man. His truck doesn't stink.
Boss like that.
Mine
Get it
stinks.
wrong. Good job.
Guarantee you that.